The Minnesota DNR is celebrating a success story with the state's pelicans. As recently as the 1960s, the birds were absent on Minnesota lakes, but that has changed. KARE 11's Laura Betker has more in this week's Simply Science.
There we go. There's one right up there soaring.
West of the Twin Cities metro is a bird paradise, a spot that birdwatchers from across the country hold in high regard. Pigeon Lake, near Dassel, Minnesota, plays host each year to thousands of birds. Among the cormorants, egrets, and herons is a bird as much a Minnesotan as the common loon, the American white pelican. This giant bird has a 9-foot wingspan and trademark orange bill that he uses to scoop up small fish and crustaceans from shallow waters. They can easily be recognized in the air from their black wingtips and gliding motion. Certainly a sight to be seen. From the late 1800s to the 1960s, there were no nesting pelicans in Minnesota, but thanks to conservation efforts and habitat restoration, the birds are returning to their native colonies. Last year, over 1,200 pairs of pelicans nested on Pigeon Lake alone, one of 7 Minnesota waters playing host to a pelican colony. The birds are getting ready to nest now, and the DNR is watching.
So we're encouraged that they're making a comeback, but they're not quite there yet.
Because the birds winter in the Gulf of Mexico, the DNR is anxious to count this year's numbers to gauge the impact from the infamous 2010 BP oil spill, which could prove to be a major setback just when things were looking up for the American white pelicans. It's not just the return of the pelicans that's exciting to the DNR, but also what that stands for.
Gradually, they're beginning to make a comeback, and that also signals increased health in our ecological systems.
Well, the hope is that if pelicans are doing well, other colony water birds will follow suit. You may have heard the rhyme, "A wonderful bird is the pelican. His mouth can hold more than his belly can." Apparently it's true. His beak can hold up to 3 gallons of water. That will end our poetry reading for tonight. Sunshine today, but rain's in the forecast. Laura's up next with details. And the Twins hoping to win the series against the LA Angels. Randy has highlights of today's matinee later in sports.
Simply Science is brought to you by Medtronic, sharing the joy of discovery.
Science can be a lot of fun. Join me for Simply Science, Thursdays at 6 on KARE 11.
Simply Science is brought to you by the Medtronic Foundation. Get inspired at the Medtronic Cell Lab at the Minnesota Science Museum.